A chronological Bible in 365 episodes. This is episode 118, continuing in 2 Samuel 15. After this it happened that Absalom provided himself with chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him.
Now Absalom would rise early and stand beside the way to the gate. So it was when anyone who had a lawsuit came to the king for decision, that Absalom would call to him and say, "What city are you from?" And he would say, "Your servant is from such and such a tribe of Israel."
Then Absalom would say to him, "Look, your case is good and right, but there is no deputy of the king to hear you."
Moreover, Absalom would say, "Oh, that I were made to judge in the land, and everyone who has any suit or cause would come to me, then I would give him justice."
And so it was, whenever anyone came near to bow down to him, that he would put out his hand and take him and kiss him.
In this manner Absalom acted toward all Israel who came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel.
Now it came to pass after 40 years that Absalom said to the king, "Please let me go to Hebron and pay the vow which I made to the Lord.
For your servant took a vow while I dwelt in Geshur in Syria, saying, If the Lord indeed brings me back to Jerusalem, then I will serve the Lord."
And the king said to him, "Go in peace." So he arose and went to Hebron.
Then Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, "As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then you shall say, Absalom reigns in Hebron."
And with Absalom went 200 men invited from Jerusalem, and they went along innocently and did not know anything.
Then Absalom sent for the Ahithophel, the Gilonite, David's counselor from a city, from Gilo, while he offered the sacrifices, and the conspiracy grew strong, for the people with Absalom continually increased in number.
Now a messenger came to David, saying, "The hearts of the men of Israel are with Absalom."
So David said to all his servants who were with him at Jerusalem, "Arise, let us flee, or we shall not escape from Absalom. Make haste to depart, lest he overtake us suddenly and bring disaster upon us, and strike the city with the edge of the sword."
And the king's servants said to the king, "We are your servants, ready to do whatever my lord the king commands."
Then the king went out with all his household after him, but the king left 10 women, concubines, to keep the house.
And the king went out with all the people after him, and stopped at the outskirts.
Then all his servants passed before him, and all the Cherethites, all the Pelethites, and the Gittitites, 600 men who had followed him from Gath, passed before the king.
Then the king said to Ittai the Gittite, "Why are you also going with us? Return and remain with the king, for you are a foreigner and also an exile from your own place."
"In fact, you came only yesterday. Should I make you wander up and down with us today, since I go I know not where? Return and take your brethren back. Mercy and truth be with you."
And Ittai answered the king and said, "As the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, surely in whatever place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also your servant will be."
So David said to Ittai, "Go and cross over." Then Ittai the Gittite and all his men and all the little ones who were with him crossed over.
And all the country wept with a loud voice, and all the people crossed over. The king himself also crossed over the brook Kidron, and all the people crossed over toward the way of the wilderness.
There was Zadok also, and all the Levites with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of God. And they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar went up until all the people had finished crossing over the city.
Then the king said to Zadok, "Carry the ark of God back into the city. If I find favor in the eyes of the Lord, he will bring me back and show me both it and his dwelling place.
But if he says thus, I have no delight in you, here I am, let him do to me as seems good to him."
The king also said to Zadok the priest, "Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace, and your 2 sons with you, Ahimaaz your son, and Jonathan the son of Abiathar."
See, I will wait in the plains of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me.
Therefore, Zadok and Abiathar carried the ark of God back to Jerusalem, and they remained there.
So David went up by the ascent of the Mount of Olives and wept as he went up. And he had his head covered and went barefoot. And all the people who were with him covered their heads and went up, weeping as they went up.
Then someone told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness.
Now it happened when David had come to the top of the mountain, where he worshipped God, there was Ahushai the Archite coming to meet him with his robe torn and dust on his head.
David said to him, If you go on with me, then you will become a burden to me.
But if you return to the city and say to Absalom, I will be your servant, O king, as I was your father's servant previously, so I will now also be your servant, then you may defeat the counsel of Ahithophel for me.
And do you not have Zadok and Abiathar, the priests, with you there? Therefore it will be that whatever you hear from the king's house, you shall tell to Zadok and Abiathar, the priests.
Indeed, they have here with them their sons, Ahimaaz, Zadok's son, and Jonathan, Abiathar's son, and by them you shall send me everything you hear.
So Hushai, David's friend, went into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem.
When David was a little past the top of the mountain, there was Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, who met him with a couple of saddled donkeys, and on them 200 loaves of bread, 100 clusters of raisins, 100 summer fruits, and a skin of wine.
And the king said to Ziba, What do you mean to do with these? So Ziba said, The donkeys are for the king's household to ride on, the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine for those who are faint in the wilderness to drink.
Then the king said, And where is your master's son? And Ziba said to the king, Indeed, he is staying in Jerusalem. For he said, Today the house of Israel will restore the kingdom of my father to me.
So the king said to Ziba, Here, all that belongs to Mephibosheth is yours. And Ziba said, I humbly bow before you, that I may find favor in your sight, my lord, O king.
Now when King David came to Bahurim, there was a man from the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. Coming from there, he came out, cursing continually as he came.
And he threw stones at David, and at all the servants of King David, and all the people and all the mighty men who were on his right hand and on his left.
Also Shimei said thus when he cursed, Come out, you bloodthirsty man, you rogue.
The Lord has brought upon you all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned, and the Lord has delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son, so now you are caught in your own evil, because you are a bloodthirsty man.
And then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Please let me go over and take off his head.
But the king said, What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord has said to him, Curse David. Who then shall say, Why have you done so?
And David said to Abishai and all his servants, See how my son, who came from my own body, seeks my life? How much more now may this Benjaminite? Let him alone, and let him curse, for so the Lord has ordered him.
It may be that the Lord will look on my affliction, and that the Lord will repay me with good for his cursing this day.
And as David and his men went along the road, Shimei went along the hillside opposite him, and cursed as he went, threw stones at him, and kicked up dust.
Now the king and all the people who were with him became weary, so they refreshed themselves there.
Meanwhile, Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel was with him.
And so it was, when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom, that Hushai said to Absalom, Long live the king! Long live the king!
So Absalom said to Hushai, Is this your loyalty, your friend? Why did you not go with your friend?
And Hushai said to Absalom, No, but whom the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel choose, his I will be, and with him I will remain.
Furthermore, whom should I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son? As I have served in your father's presence, so will I be in your presence.
Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, Give counsel as to what we should do.
And Ahithophel said to Absalom, Go into your father's concubines, whom he has left to keep the house, and all Israel will hear that you are whored by your father. Then the hands of all who are with you will be strong.
So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the top of the house, and Absalom went in to his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel.
Now the advice of Ahithophel, which he gave in those days, was as if one had inquired at the oracle of God. So was all the advice of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom.
Moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, Now let me choose 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue David tonight.
I will come upon him while he is weary and weak, and make him afraid, and all the people who are with him will flee, and I will strike only the king.
Then I will bring back all the people to you. When all return except the man whom you seek, all the people will be at peace.
And the saying pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel.
Then Absalom said, Now call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what he says too.
And when Hushai came to Absalom, Absalom spoke to him, saying, Ahithophel has spoken in this manner. Shall we do as he says? If not, speak up.
So Hushai said to Absalom, The advice that Ahithophel has given is not good at this time.
For said Hushai, You know your father and his men, that they are mighty men, and they are enraged in their minds, like a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. And your father is a man of war, and will not camp with the people.
Surely by now he is hidden in some pit, or in some other place, and it will be when some of them are overthrown at the first, that whoever hears it will say, There is a slaughter among the people who follow Absalom.
And even he who is valiant, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will melt completely. For all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and those who are with him are valiant men.
Therefore I advise that all Israel be fully gathered to you, from Dan to Beersheba, like the sand that is by the sea for multitude, and that you go to battle in person.
So we will come upon him in some place where he may be found, and we will fall on him as the dew falls on the ground. And of him and all the men who are with him there shall not be left so much as one.
Moreover, if he has withdrawn into a city, then all Israel shall bring ropes to that city, and we will pull it into the river, until there is not one small stone found there.
So Absalom and all the men of Israel said, The advice of Hushai the Archite is better than the advice of Ahithophel, for the Lord had purposed to defeat the good advice of Ahithophel, to the intent that the Lord might bring disaster to Absalom.